The owner of the Clippers, Donald Sterling, in a recording released to TMZ, said this while talking to his girlfriend.
Nobody said you did anything wrong.
I don't do anything wrong. If we ever have any issues, it's because people call you and tell you things about me that are not true.
Why are you broadcasting?
I'm not broadcasting anything.
Taking pictures with minorities. Why?
What's wrong with minorities? What's wrong with black people?
Nothing.
What's wrong with these
If I'm
families?
talking to an enemy, there's nothing wrong with minorities. They're fabulous. Fabulous. Because you're an enemy to me.
Why?
Because you don't understand.
I don't understand what.
Nothing.
That racism still is alive?
No, but there's a culture.
What culture?
People steal certain things. Hispanics steal certain things towards blacks. Blacks steal certain things towards other groups. It's been that way historically, and it will always be that way.
But it's not that way in my heart and in my mind.
But maybe you want to adjust to the world. Why do you have to disrespect them, those that are...
Who am I disrespecting?
The world before you.
Why am I disrespecting them?
By walking, you're perceived as either a Latina or a white girl. Why should you be walking publicly with black people? Why? Is there a benefit to you?
Is it a benefit to me? Does it matter if they're white or blue or yellow?
I guess that you don't know that. Maybe you're stupid. Maybe you don't know what people think of you. It does matter, yeah. It matters.
Do you know that I'm mixed?
No, I don't know.
You know that I'm mixed.
You told me you were going to remove those. You said, yes, I understand you. I mean, you change from day to day. Wow. So painful. Wow.
People call you and tell you that I have black people on my Instagram, and it bothers you.
Yeah, it bothers me a lot that you want to broadcast that you're associating with black people.
You associate with black people.
I'm not you and you're not me. You're supposed to be a delicate white or a delicate Latina girl.
I'm a mixed girl.
Okay. Well, but
and you're in love with me. And I'm black and Mexican, whether you like it or not,
okay.
Whether the world accepts it or not. And you're asking me to remove something that's part of me and in my bloodstream because the world thinks different of me and you're afraid of what they're going to think because of your upbringing. You want me to have hate towards black people?
I don't want you to have hate. That's what people do. They turn things around. I want you to love them privately. In your whole life, every day you could be with them. Every single day of your life.
But not in public?
But why publicize it on the Instagram and why bring it to my games?
Why bring the black people to the game? I can't believe that a man who's educated, a man who's a scholar, a man who's...
Well, believe it and stop talking about it. Let's finish our discussion with a period, okay? You're not making any good points. You can't believe this man. That's all I am. I'm not a good person in your eyes. If I was a good person, you wouldn't say, I can't believe this. I can't believe that.
What am I
Which are all lies. I love this.
Look at all this negativity coming from...
There's no negativity. I love everybody. I'm just saying, in your lousy Instagrams, you don't have to have yourself walking with black people. You don't have to. If you want to, do it.
If it's white people, it's okay? If it was Larry Bird, would it have made a difference?
You're just a big fighter. I could see who would want to live with a woman like you. Who would want to live with a woman?
Who would want to live with a woman like you? Who would want to live with a woman like you? The level of self-awareness in this guy, it's got to be a historic low. Like, legendary how terrible he is at self-perception. Like, he's this gross billionaire guy who's got, like, a horrible personality. He's a disgusting racist, and he's like, who would want to be with you? What, are you incapable? Do you own a mirror? Have you looked in one recently? And this guy actually, you could tell from the call, he actually thinks, like, yeah, she likes me not because of my money. She likes me because of who I am. Like, he actually thought that. How sad of a person. I mean, that goes on for over 9 minutes. I had to chop it down for time reasons. But look at the arguments. Why are you taking pics with minorities and black people? You own an NBA team, dipshit. Are you unaware that all the money you're making is because of black people? Man, what goes on inside a guy like this? What goes on inside his head? Like, what goes on inside his head? The year is 2014. You're dating somebody who's mixed, and you're like, don't take pictures with black people. I was getting tweets over the weekend. Somebody saying, no, hold on here. We can't be sure it's racist. We need to see the full context. It was 9 minutes and 26 seconds of him saying that over and over. What more context do you need? Now, to be fair, look, is she like an angel in this scenario? No, because there's reports that she worked with TMZ and got money for releasing this to TMZ, and supposedly she might try to get money to not release further tapes of him. And there's another report that like he had her record everything that they said together because he thought he was forgetful and he wanted everything recorded, which is a silly idea. So what's true and what's false in the whole situation? It's really murky, and you got to make that up for yourself. And I'm not saying she's an angel, but here's what's for sure. There's enough context there to understand how he feels about black people. And then I love when he says, well, maybe you want to adjust to the world. Maybe you're telling her to adjust to the world. As you're talking about don't take pictures with black people. That doesn't work well in our circles. And then Cenk brought up a good point on Twitter. He said, well, now we also know that his billionaire friends are calling him and saying, tisk, she's taking pictures with black people. Like, really? What, is there an entire group of these old white billionaires who are uber racist? They have like this 1923 mentality that they're still living in that old school age. And maybe they are because a lot of them are really fucking old. And supposedly they're referring a lot to Magic Johnson in this conversation about how he doesn't want her hanging out with Magic Johnson. It's a mix of like him saying to her, oh yeah, maybe you want to adjust to the world. No, maybe you want to adjust to the world. But it's a mix of like pure racism, and I could see that there's insecurity too. He's probably scared that like, I'm this old billionaire with a shriveled little cock. I can't compete with the big strong black guys that are much better looking than me. There's so many angles to this story. And then also, maybe you're stupid, he says to her. Why? For not being racist? And that's the context he said it in. Like, what? Don't you get it? Like, black people treat Spanish people one way, Spanish people treat black people one way, white people treat these people that. Like, he's saying it like, what are you, stupid? You don't get that obviously there's this massive racism is the norm? No, that's not the way it is. Maybe that's what it's like for you because your mind is stuck in 1954, but not for regular people. And then my favorite part, because it shows you he's not just racist. He's incredibly sexist. He says, oh, you're supposed to be a delicate white or delicate Latina girl. And here you are giving me lip, talking back to me. I'm a man. Don't you know your place? You don't know your place. You're supposed to blow me, cook me some meals, and shut the fuck up. And don't you dare take pictures with colored folk and put it on Instagram. Man, unbelievable. Now, I should also note he has a history of this kind of stuff. In a 2009 wrongful termination lawsuit that was eventually rejected by a jury, former Clippers general manager and NBA legend Elgin Baylor claimed that Sterling had a, quote, plantation mentality from Baylor's lawsuit. Quote, Sterling said, personally, I would like to have a white Southern coach coaching poor black players. And I was shocked. And he looked at me and said, do you think that's a racist statement? I said, absolutely. That's plantation mentality. Also, in 2006, the Department of Justice brought housing discrimination charges against Sterling for allegedly refusing to rent to African Americans at his Los Angeles residential complexes. The suit was settled 3 years later for $2.75 million. Now, as part of the deal, they said you don't have to admit guilt. So he got to pay $2.75, and he didn't have to admit guilt. But let's be serious. If you're paying $2.75 million, you're admitting, okay, there's merit to this suit. I'm just going to make it go away, and I won't have to say I'm guilty, but here, take the money and shut up. Also, in sworn testimony, one of Sterling's top property supervisors, Sumner Davenport, claimed he made racist comments about black people living in one of the buildings that he had just acquired. Quote, "That's because of all the blacks in this building, they smell. They're not clean. And it's because of all the Mexicans that just sit around and smoke and drink all day." That doesn't make sense in like 19 different ways, and it's only 2 sentences. Also, in a 1983 incident, prospective Clippers coaching candidate Raleigh Massimino says that Sterling used the N-word in an impromptu interview at LAX. He said, quote, "Here's this guy, and he has this blonde bimbo with him. They have a bottle of champagne. They're tanked." And Don looks at me, and he says, "I want to know why you think you can coach these niggers." Oh, what a gross human being. In 2004, he refused to pay for an assistant coach's $70,000 prostate cancer surgery, which the Clippers players eventually paid for out of their own pockets. He also mercilessly heckled his own player, Baron Davis. Davis told the New York Post in 2012, quote, "I just stopped liking basketball. And then you dribbling down the court and having the owner, like, cuss at you and call you an idiot. I didn't even look forward to coming to the games. And if Donald Sterling came to the game, I definitely was not going to have a good game, because it was just like, how do you play when the main heckler in the gym is the owner of the team and he's telling you how much he hates you and calling out your name?" So what's the fallout been thus far? Well, as of 2 o'clock this afternoon, sponsors are fleeing, and I bet you more will. So far, it's been CarMax, Virgin America, State Farm, and Kia. They're gonzo. They're dunzo. What kind of punishment can officially be done? Well, they can suspend him and they can fine him, and the other owners and Adam Silver can put pressure on him to give up the team, but I don't think that they're allowed to, according to the NBA bylaws, just unilaterally decide to take away the team from him. So what would I do in this scenario? Well, in all seriousness, I would do maximum pressure to get him out. Not even necessarily just because of this incident where he's exposing himself as a racist, because I got to be honest, I don't know if this is controversial or not, but either way, I wholeheartedly believe this. I don't think you should be able to just fire somebody for being a racist or for having beliefs that other people dislike, because then it's a massive slippery slope. So, for example, I'm an atheist, and I always make comments about how, I'm not a fan of religion and I dislike it and yada yada, right? So what, if I own something, can people, put up a quote of me saying, "I think Christians are idiots," and then I'm supposed to get fired because people are going to backlash? I would say that's not fair. I would say that doesn't make sense. By the same token, I think just because he's racist doesn't mean you fire him because he's a racist. If we had to fire everybody who's a racist, that would mean that, Mississippi, all the white people in Mississippi would not have a job. The unemployment rate in Mississippi would be like 80% right now. So I don't think that's the reason you should try to get rid of him. It's certainly one of the reasons you should put pressure on him, right? But I think it's the totality of the situation. I think it's everything put together. See, this is the way I look at it. We're looking at a guy who, if he was in any other position in the world, if he had any other job in the world where he's not the owner and he's like somebody who's working, right? He would have been fired a long time ago. For his history of terrible comments, for his history of treating people in a negative way, for not paying for somebody's cancer treatment when it was part of the contract, for being verbally abusive to people. So it's the totality of the picture that leads me to say, I think they should put pressure to force him out. I don't think they can, nor will they just say, "You're fired." But I do think they should suspend him. I do think the owner should get together and say, "We got to do something about this." And I do think that in a free market scenario, which is what we're seeing right now, like if I had my company advertising with the Clippers, I would take it back. I would say no more, because you don't want your name associated with a racist organization and a crazy owner. So yes, in a free market scenario, to have all those people take back their sponsorships, and then eventually you're going to put him in a position where he doesn't really have a choice.